Hello everyone! Every page tells a new story. Welcome to the world of endless animation. The movie starts in a big city called Zhong, where everyone lives happily and without any worries because their heroic soldiers have won all past wars. Although the city has been attacked by many monsters, General Shi has managed to defeat them and rid the city of their presence. We then see Ming, who works cleaning weapons and armor for the soldiers, and he always dreams of becoming a soldier like them. When he returns to the workshop where he works with Wang, he tells him that he wants to become a soldier, but Wang tells him that he will always be organizing weapons and will never become a soldier. He gives him a pile of weapons to clean quickly and tells him to leave behind his rosy dreams because they are pointless. In the middle of this conversation, they hear the sound of war drums, signaling everyone to prepare and rush to the battlefield. They are surprised by what's happening because they were supposed to be living in peace. However, many monsters appear at the city gate, and the soldiers quickly line up, ready to defend their city. Ming takes advantage of the fact that the whole country is fighting, puts on a soldier's uniform, grabs a sword, and climbs a hill overlooking the entire battlefield. He decides that he must prove himself to the soldiers in this war, as it's the only way they will respect him afterward. After standing there, acting tough, and thinking he will finish the battle, a strong wind blows, causing him to fall off the hill and glide through the air until he lands on the back of one of the monsters they are fighting. The soldiers are shocked to see him, and Wang says that the one who entered the battle is supposed to be just cleaning weapons. Ming stays on the monster's back until it throws him to the ground, grabs him with its tail, and drags him until he falls to the ground. Then another monster arrives to attack him, but before it kills him, General Shi arrives to protect Ming and continues to fight the monsters, defeating them one by one until the rest of the monsters see what's happening, flee, and the general's army triumphs once again. After the battle ends and everyone returns to the city, Wang goes to Ming to scold him, saying he told him to stay there and that he almost cost them the war with his stupidity, which upsets Ming. When he takes the rest of the weapons he is supposed to clean and returns, he meets his friends who tell him that what he did was pointless and that he is putting himself in danger for nothing. In the city, he sees a poster of a new monster stealing things from the city, and no one knows how to catch it. But when Ming sees its picture, he laughs, knowing its name is Chemo. Later, some soldiers arrive to ask Ming what he's doing there, saying he's not even a soldier to be looking at these posters. A soldier grabs him and lifts him off the ground, but she arrives to hit the soldiers and tells Ming if he wants to prove he's a real soldier, he'll give him a chance to capture Chemo and join the army. Ming takes the matter seriously, leaves the city frightened, but determined to catch Chemo, and keeps searching for it until he hears a sound nearby. When he looks, he sees Chemo standing there, exactly like the picture. Ming sets a trap with mushrooms, throwing them at Chemo and waiting for it to attack so he can catch it. However, a girl arrives, shoots arrows at Chemo, and attacks it. But Chemo is strong and knocks her down. Before it kills her, Ming rushes to her aid, and they both end up in a strange-looking forest. As he stands there, puzzled by the place, she attacks him, wanting to kill him, while he keeps telling her he was helping her and all he wanted was to catch Chemo. She believes him and says they should work together. When he shakes her hand, she leaves, telling him all he needs to know is her name is Shiho. They walk together in the strange place until they see a large building with sounds coming from it. When they enter, they see a sorcerer standing in front of a fire, intending to throw a goat into it. Ming stops him and makes him reconsider, but the sorcerer casts a curse that turns all the statues into monsters to attack Ming and Shiho. They deal with them and tell the sorcerer that Chemo wasn't the one stealing from them all along, and that the sorcerer was the one stealing valuable items from the city and turning them into potions for himself. He uses the potion at that moment to heal some wounds on his face. A magical snake emerges to attack Ming and Shiho. Shiho retaliates until the mask falls off her face. They continue until they destroy the snake, which reassembles itself to attack again, but this time they destroy it together. Ming then approaches the sorcerer to throw him into the fire beside him, but when he falls, the fire explodes, and Ming rushes to save him before he burns. After the sorcerer's story ends, the goat asks them if they want to join them, saying that he was actually a human who was cursed, which is why he became a goat. Ming and Shiho take him with them on their journey. When the sorcerer feels they're taking him out of pity, he says he'll use his incredible powers, but nothing happens, causing Ming and Shiho to laugh at him. As the three continue their journey, Ming starts to fall in love with Shiho, and they stand together under golden stars, sharing a romantic moment. Shiho then asks him why he was chasing the monster when she met him, and he explains that everyone in his city treats him as if he's nothing, and his only chance to become a hero in their eyes, or at least to join the army, was by capturing Chemo. Shiho makes a deal with him to teach him the art of war, so he can capture Chemo. She continues to train him in combat, and his love for her grows, thinking about her all the time. Meanwhile, all the monsters gather and head towards Ming's city, this time under the leadership of a giant monster. In the middle of Shiho's training with Ming, they see Chemo and chase it until it disappears in front of them, leading them to a cave filled with small monsters that rush towards them. A giant monster emerges from the ground, causing everyone to scatter. The monster attacks Ming and Shiho, but Chemo arrives at the last moment to defend them, knocking the monster away. Chemo then takes the small monsters, revealing they are its children, and showing that Chemo wasn't stealing anything. But the giant monster that Chemo had previously hit attacks again, forcing them all to flee the area. They run to a high mountain, and before the goat falls off it, Ming grabs and saves him. From the mountain, they see the last volcano spewing fire, warning them. They keep running from the monster until it falls off the mountain. But before it burns, it extends its tongue to grab Ming. The one who remains attached and calls out to Ming, telling them anyone to save me. So the goat runs to him and says, "I will use my superpower to save you." And he keeps trying to unleash the superpower without anything happening. Ming carries her after she saved him from death and vows to save her from death. He carries her on his back, searching for a way to escape until he sees a river ahead and realizes Shiho can't swim. He makes a boat with the goat's help to take Shiho and escape down the river. He sees Chemo trying to swim and escape from the place. After that, the boat hits a rock, causing them to fall, and Ming jumps to catch Shiho before she hits the rocks, but realizes she won't swim, deciding to sacrifice himself and throw her to the water's surface and drown himself. Shiho sees what happens but can't do anything due to the poison's effect. She wakes up later to find herself with an old lady and keeps asking about Ming until she finds him sitting with some wounds on his back. When she asks him what happened and how they survived the river, he tells her the old lady said Chemo saw what happened and saved him. When she saw him lying on the shore, she took pity on him and brought him to her home. Shiho then tends to his wounds and helps him recover after seeing him sacrifice himself for her. Ming asks her why she is chasing Chemo, and she tells him that since she was a child, she loved the topic of wars, unlike other girls her age. The one who raised her was her grandfather because her parents traveled when she was young. Her grandfather said Shiho would die young, so he took her on a journey through Japan to make the most of each day and search for her family. But with no result, there was no trace of her parents. In the middle of the journey, Chemo appeared, and when her grandfather tried to chase him, something went wrong, and he fell off the mountain and died. Since then, she has been chasing Chemo to avenge her grandfather. Ming sees her crying over her grandfather and tells her he wants to walk with her a bit, and they go to the market where Ming buys her things she likes. He tells her the best thing that happened to him since he left his country is knowing her. He promises to search with her for her family until they find them. They see a festival happening in the city and they go together, amazed by the people in strange costumes, until they see the soldiers who bothered him at Chemo's painting. He knows Chemo is there and that those soldiers are attacking. Chemo runs at the soldiers, knocking them down, and Ming takes the opportunity to set his trap. Shiho attacks to make Chemo fall into the trap and get caught. But when Shiho goes to kill him and avenge her grandfather, Ming tells her that he saved them from the fire and doesn't deserve to be killed. The soldiers get up to hit Ming and take Chemo for themselves. But the training pays off, component placement, and he keeps fighting them until they fall to the ground, and Shiho helps him. When she sees the soldiers up close, she remembers her grandfather fell off the mountain because of the arrows the soldiers were shooting at Chemo, not because of Chemo himself. She gets upset and keeps fighting the soldiers until the general arrives to arrest her for being from another city and fighting his soldiers. Shiho manages to escape from the soldiers, so the general draws his sword and decides to fight her himself. When Ming sees this, he runs to grab Shiho's sword and tells the general that she helped him catch Chemo, and that she was only fighting the soldiers because they killed her grandfather. He asks the general to pardon Shiho, and the general gives the order to pardon her. Ming becomes a soldier in his army. When the general leaves, Shiho remains upset with Ming, telling him she will never forgive him, and walks away. The next day, Ming goes to be honored with a celebration for becoming a high-ranking soldier after everyone called him a coward, but he remains upset with himself for what he did to Shiho. Meanwhile, she heads towards the city, and all the soldiers stand ready, and Ming runs to see where Chemo is. He finds him with the soldiers who beat Ming before, and they continue to torture Chemo until Ming stops them and cuts the chain binding Chemo. He tells him to run away quickly before the war begins, but they take Chemo on his back and run until they reach a strange place. He enters to see that the place has the monster's stone that keeps them alive. The general arrives and tells Ming to take the stone from Chemo, but Ming refuses, so the general draws his sword and decides to attack him. Before anything happens, Shiho and the goat arrive and defend Ming, taking him and escaping. On the way out, Ming sees the general taking medicine to heal the wounds on his face and understands everything. The general orders the entire army to chase Ming and his companions, but Ming stands in a high place to speak to the soldiers so everyone can hear him. He holds up the stone and tells them these monsters aren't attacking us or stealing from us. These stones belong to them, and without them, they die. But our general, who pretends to be a leader, steals them to gain power, which is why the monsters attack us repeatedly. At that moment, the monsters enter the city to attack them, and Ming runs with the stone until he almost falls, catching it with his hand. The general sees the stone's superpower transferring to Ming and runs to take the stone from him and hits himself with it to absorb all its power, killing the monsters with his bare hands without any weapon until he finishes off the monster leader. All the soldiers flee when they see this happening, but Ming and Shiho decide to attack the general, but he easily overpowers them due to his strength. He tells Ming that he was once weak, and everyone mocked him until he took the stone's power, making everyone fear him, and no one will take it from him ever. When he tries to hit Ming with the sword, Shiho runs to stop him and gets hit instead. The other soldiers get angry at what they see, but before they attack, the general destroys the place, causing Shiho to fall from a high place and die. Ming gets up, upset, and begins to absorb an unknown power, transforming into a strong being. The goat takes advantage of the situation and activates his power, which finally works. Ming takes the sword and attacks the general, who blocks Ming's strikes, but anger makes him stronger, causing the sword to fall from the general's hand. Ming takes the stone, making the general weak again. Afterward, the wind blows. The entire army celebrates Ming, who saved them from the mad general responsible for many battles in the city. Although Ming achieved all his dreams, he was sad because he would live without Shiho, who sacrificed herself to save him. And that's how our movie ends. I hope you enjoyed it with us. Don't forget to leave a like, and if you're not subscribed to the channel, subscribe and activate the bell icon to receive our